It's a nice vista, I must admit. I'm going to show you these clouds. Not too often I motorcycle over the clouds. I got to get back on the road. Should be coming up on Idlewild here pretty soon. So the mountain up to my left is San Jacinto. On the other side of that mountain is Palm Springs, California. Mecca for mid-century modern architecture and resort-style living. It's a place I've been coming to since, I think about 2001 was my first time there, and I've loved it ever since. We would come down from Minnesota every spring from 2001 on, and it blew my mind. First time I was there growing up in North Dakota, it's the furthest thing from that you can imagine. And I was very lucky to be introduced to it, and just love it. Really can't get enough of it. I may end up living there someday. We'll see. Life is strange. So I took the V-Strom for this ride video because, one, I haven't done any videos like this with the V-Strom. Not with these two cameras anyways. And with a good microphone. And I wanted to have something for my V-Strom viewers because I have plenty of them. Thank you, every one of you. And because of the altitude, I don't know how well my carbureted bike would do here. I may still do it sometime on Mr. Corton, but we'll have to see. But it's hard to believe that I'm very close to a desert when I'm up here. And all the pines reminds me a lot of northern Minnesota, Canada, Ontario, Manitoba. Some areas I went a lot as a kid. And here is my 6,000 foot marker. And I'm in Pine Cove. So one thing I did want to talk about on my channel at some point, and I may as well do it here, is anger management, which is something men struggle with, and I get it. I'm a man, and I have those feelings, you know. There's something about the way we're wired that we can fly off the handle pretty easily. But I see it in, relationships and when we get stressed, we get angry. And it's no way to live your life. It's no fun being angry. In motorcycling, I have seen guys splitting lanes in heavy traffic. And let's just be clear about splitting lanes. One thing that will happen every time is somebody pulls out in front of you. It's just going to. It's part of the deal. And you got to be prepared for it. And of course, one of the ways to be prepared for it is to keep your eyes open ahead of you constantly and be hyper vigilant for what's going on in the smallest little nuance, from even seeing somebody's hand go up to the turn signal lever in their car through their rearview mirror. Little things. Anyways, you got to be paying attention. And I've seen somebody crowd the lane for the motorcyclist and not give him room, and it triggers so much anger in the rider that once he passed the car, he turned around. Make sure I'm on a straightaway before I do this. He turned around like this and flicked the guy off, and for quite a while. And I thought, man, while you're so angry dealing with the past, and here's the lesson in this, it's about being present. Once he passed that car, that was history. That was the past. Has no bearing on his life anymore. But his anger was still with him, and he's doing the instant replay in his mind, and feels he's got to turn around and flip that driver the bird. Well, meanwhile, he's looking backwards while he's traveling forward at a high rate of speed, and a high rate of speed that's quite differentiated from the speed of the traffic around him. Here's Idlewild, really quaint little town. So it didn't kill him. He got lucky. No one pulled out in front of him. Sure, we're all gonna stay in our lane here. And he lived. But his anger could have killed him. And his lack of staying in the moment, staying in the present, which is the only reality we know. Some nice little shopping and it's just a nice little village. It could have killed him. It didn't. But the past is gone, and the future hasn't happened yet. The only thing you have is right now. So stay present. Little life lesson from motorcycling. Let's continue the ride. And here I am on to Highway 74, California 74, which is officially the Pines to Palms Highway here. So this morning, when I got on the bike, pulled it out of the garage to begin the ride here, I turned the key, pulled in the clutch, hit the start button, and it wouldn't start. It turned over just slightly, kind of a, but that was it. So I canceled my trip. Not. I got out my multimeter. Well, first I got out my jumper battery, you know, the emergency battery thing. Here the road straightens out now and flattens out, and you can really make time on this west side of the mountain. And the landscape changes. We're going to be leaving the pines and slowly getting into, I don't know what I would call this terrain. It's kind of a, like a savanna, sort of, if America could have such a thing. If any state's got, it's got everything. California has everything. And so if any state in this union has got a savanna, California is the one. It's a wonderful thing about this state is everything America has to offer as far as scenery goes, you can find it in California. Oh, I'm coming in here hot, and it's downhill. So yeah, I did not cancel my trip. I grabbed my jumper battery, started the bike with that, and then got my multimeter out and determined that the charging system is working on the bike. And another thing I know that I will share with you is that the battery in this bike is the original battery. And this is a 2012 Suzuki V-Strom, so at this point in time, that battery is at least, perhaps over 8 years old. And that's really too long to stick with a battery, but I'm kind of getting out onto an open plain here. With this channel, I like to kind of report in on the reliability and just longevity of the Suzuki V-Strom, because I happen to own one and I really like the thing. And so I knew that battery was old, and my logic and wisdom was saying you should just change it before you have a problem. But and I thought, well, let's see how far it'll go. And so I'm out here riding on it with a battery I know is not working. I'm just not shutting the engine off. Now I have to fill the tank, because the ignition key opens up the fuel tank, and so I've got to turn the ignition off. I don't have my spare key with me. Can really make hay here. I wonder if I'll see a patrol officer. It'd be fun to hit the ton back here. The ton, for those of you that don't know, is 100 miles per hour. I'm already doing over 80. Speedometer's off on these things, though. It indicates higher than I'm actually going. But I've grabbed a little lithium-ion emergency jumper battery that I have. Just threw that in the top case behind me. And so if I have to shut the engine off, and I will, I'll have to fill up the gas tank at some point. If it doesn't start, I'll get one start out of it, and then a full tank will get me home. So I just really wanted to bring you guys this video. The guy out getting some exercise, good for him. Well, I'm at 90 something here. Let's just hit the ton for the hell of it. There's the 100 indicated. I gotta go to 105 to actually be doing 100 though. There we go. Smooth. The V-Strom 1000 is such a smooth and do everything motorcycle. I mean, it's just, if you want to get on a highway and eat up miles, this thing will do it. But if you want to get on a fire road, or you know, just a back road, gravel road, it's good at that stuff too. It's not a true off-road motorcycle, but you're not completely stuck on the pavement with it. And there's such a great value. I got this thing for $5,500. My dad saw it coming through an auction up in Minnesota. He didn't quite know what it was. He'll probably watch this video, so he'll be listening. And he called me up and said, is a V-Strom a good motorcycle? I said, yeah, that's a good bike. I actually thought about trying to get one of those. And he said, well, one just came through the auction for $5,000 with really low miles. It was a 2012, and at the time it was 2015, so it was only 3 years old. Had 2,300 miles on it. It was like a brand new bike. And I said, man, should have got it. It was worth more than that. And he didn't buy it, but then we found there was a reserve on the sale, so the sale didn't go through. And my dad happened to be hanging out at the auction house 2 weeks later when the seller, came in to collect his check for all the other items he had sold on the auction that day. And my dad said, do you still have that motorcycle for sale? And the guy said, yes, but I'm not taking anything less than $5,500 for it. And he said, done. Of course, he had had that conversation with me by that time and knew that it was a good deal. And so he grabbed it for me. And I rode up there on my old CB900, the one I restored. I'll throw a picture of that bike up here. And I rode that up from Minneapolis to Fargo and picked up the V-Strom. And I left the CB900 there, and we sold that on an auction. But anyway, I've loved this bike ever since.